They say blood is thicker than water, but what happens when that blood mixes with betrayal? 6 years ago, I returned home early to find my wife and cousin naked in our bed. She was pregnant with his child. I thought I moved on, rebuilt my life, and buried that rage. Then, the wedding invitation arrived. "Will you be my best man?" he asked, as if he hadn't destroyed everything I loved. Now I'm about to come face to face with the two people who shatter my world. What they don't know is that I'm not the same man they betrayed. My name is Daniel Mitchell. I'm 35 years old and work as a project manager at a construction firm here in Denver. 6 years ago, my life imploded when I discovered my wife was cheating on me with my own cousin who was staying under our roof. Melissa and I met at work 8 years ago. She was this fiery marketing coordinator with curves in all the right places and a smile that could light up a room. We dated for 3 years before I put a ring on her finger. At 27, we tied the knot, bought a house in the suburbs, and started what I thought would be our forever. 2 years into our marriage, my cousin Jason called. He'd moved to Denver to pursue his music career, another wannabe guitarist looking to make it big. His parents, my Uncle Thomas and Aunt Linda, were worried sick about him throwing away his business degree for some pipe dream. "It's just for a couple weeks, Dan, until I find my own place," Jason promised. I agreed without hesitation. He was family after all, 5 years younger than me, and someone I'd always looked out for. Jason settled into our guest room, and things seemed normal at first. I noticed he and Mel got along well, maybe too well. They'd stay up late talking music while I turned in early for work. I brushed off the warning signs, the sudden silence when I entered rooms, the inside jokes I wasn't part of. 3 weeks after Jason moved in, I came home early from a business trip. My flight got canceled, and I wanted to surprise Mel. Instead, I was the one who got surprised. Their voices were coming from our bedroom, our goddamn marital bed. I stood in the doorway, briefcase still in hand, as they scrambled for clothes. I didn't yell or throw punches. I just stood there, ice running through my veins, as they tried to explain the situation. "It just happened, Dan," Melissa said, tears streaming down her face. "Nothing just happens," I replied, my voice steady. "You make choices." Jason couldn't even look me in the eye. "There's something else," he mumbled. That's when they dropped the bomb. Melissa was pregnant. With my cousin's child. "I want you both out of my house in 1 hour," I said, my voice even despite the rage building inside me. Neither argued. Melissa started sobbing harder, but I had no sympathy left. Not a drop. While they packed, I went to the garage and called my lawyer, Frank. We played college football together, and he specialized in divorce cases. "Dan, are you sure?" he asked after I explained the situation. "You don't want to sleep on this." "There's nothing to sleep on," I replied. "She's pregnant with my cousin's kid. We're done." By the time I returned inside, Jason was loading his guitar and duffel bag into his beat-up Honda. He tried to speak, but I held up my hand. "Save your breath. We're not family anymore." He slunk away like the coward he was. Melissa was still packing, her mascara streaking down her cheeks. "Dan, please, we need to talk about this," she begged. "It was a terrible mistake. I love you, not him." I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "You've got 30 minutes left. Whatever you can't take now, I'll have sent to your mother's. What about our life together? Our plans?" She reached for my arm, but I stepped back. "Should have thought about that before you spread your legs for my cousin," I said coldly. The old Dan would have comforted her, try to understand. That Dan died the moment I opened our bedroom door. After Melissa left, I poured myself 2 fingers of bourbon and called my parents. They needed to hear this from me, not through the family grapevine. Mom answered, cheerful as always, asking about our plans for the upcoming Memorial Day barbecue. "Change of plans," I said. "Melissa and I are getting divorced." The line went silent. Then my father picked up the extension. "Son, what happened?" I told them everything, the affair, the pregnancy, kicking them both out. Mom gasped when I mentioned Jason. Dad cursed under his breath. "We'll call Thomas and Linda," Mom said. "They should know what their son did." "Do what you need to," I replied. "But I'm done with that side of the family." Dad cleared his throat. "Where are you staying tonight, son?" "Won't come here." "I'm staying in my house," I answered firmly. "I earned it. I'm keeping it." After hanging up, I systematically went through the house, gathering Melissa's photographs and mementos into boxes. No sense torturing myself with reminders. By midnight, there was no visible trace of her or our 8 years together. The next morning, I met with Frank to start divorce proceedings. He advised me to fight for everything: the house, the investments, even her beloved SUV that I'd bought her for our anniversary. "You want to play hardball?" Frank asked, surprised at my approach. "No, I want this over quickly," I explained. "She can have the car, her retirement account, and half our savings. I keep the house, my 401k, and my dignity. No alimony, clean break." Frank nodded approvingly. Most guys want revenge. This is smarter. That afternoon, I hit the gym for the first time in months, pushing my body until my muscles screamed louder than my thoughts. Afterward, I called a real estate agent about selling the house. Too many memories. My parents called again that evening. Apparently, Uncle Thomas and Aunt Linda were devastated and wanted to speak with me. I declined. Jason had tried reaching me too. 12 missed calls and pathetic voicemails begging forgiveness. They're saying it was a one-time thing, Mom said hesitantly. "Mom, she's pregnant," I reminded her. "One time is all it takes, but I guarantee it wasn't just once." A week later, the divorce papers were filed. I'd moved into a downtown apartment, closer to work. I started a new routine: up at 5 a.m., gym, work, boxing class, sleep, repeat. No time for self-pity. Melissa tried stopping by my office once. Security escorted her out. She sent emails, which I filtered to trash. Jason eventually gave up calling. I heard through mutual friends that he'd moved back home, tail between his legs. His music career never took off. I was rebuilding my life brick by brick, and there was no room for either of them in the foundation. 6 months after D-Day, that's what us betrayed husbands call the day we discover the affair, I was back on my feet. The divorce had finalized in record time. Melissa didn't contest anything, probably out of guilt or shame. Fine by me. I kept the house, but sold it anyway, pocketing a decent profit in Denver's hot market. Bought myself a sleek downtown condo with floor-to-ceiling windows and not a single memory. Word on the street was that Jason had knocked up another woman in Nashville, where he'd relocated to pursue his music. Some guys never learn. Melissa had lost the baby, miscarriage at 8 weeks. Can't say I shed any tears over that. Call me cold-hearted, but that kid was the physical embodiment of their betrayal. My parents tried to broker peace between our side of the family and Uncle Thomas's crew, but I shut that down hard. "Mom, I get that he's your nephew, but he crossed a line you don't come back from," I told her over Sunday dinner. "I don't need Kumbaya family reunions with people who stabbed me in the back." Dad nodded approvingly. He'd always been a man of principle. "Your mother and I support you 100%, son. We just don't want you to carry this anger forever." "It's not anger anymore," I explained, cutting into my steak. "It's boundaries. Big difference. I've thrown myself into work like a man possessed. Got promoted to senior project manager, overseeing 3 construction sites simultaneously. My boss Larry clapped me on the shoulder one day and said, "Mitchell, you're a machine lately. Whatever fire got lit under your ass, I like it." If only he knew. The physical transformation was what people noticed most. 4 days a week at the gym had carved away my married man softness. I'd added 20 pounds of muscle and dropped my body fat to 12%. When you're rebuilding yourself, might as well go all in. My buddy Jay dragged me out to bars occasionally, playing wingman. Women were interested. I wasn't hideous before, but now I turned heads. Still, I wasn't ready for anything serious. Casual dates, nothing more. Trust isn't something you give away for free after it's been shattered. One surprising development. I'd taken up rock climbing. Something about scaling a wall, relying only on your own strength and decisions, was therapeutic as hell. No one to blame if you fall. No one to credit but yourself when you reach the top. That's where I met Monica, tough-as-nails climbing instructor with a no-BS attitude that was refreshing after Melissa's manipulative tears. We were just friends, climbing partners. But I respected her, and that was more than I could say for most people these days. "You climb like you've got something to prove," she observed one day as I tackled a difficult route. "Don't we all?" I countered, reaching for the next hold. She shrugged. "Some climb to prove something to others. You're climbing to prove something to yourself." Smart woman. She had me pegged. Every handhold I grasped, every summit I reached was a silent affirmation. I'm stronger now. I won't fall again. 6 years flew by. 6 years of building a new life brick by brick. I made partner at the firm, bought a mountain cabin as a weekend getaway, and even dated a few women seriously, though nothing stuck. Monica and I had remained friends. She'd married a firefighter and they had twins now. I was in a good place. The wound had scarred over. I rarely thought about Melissa or Jason anymore. Then the email landed in my inbox like a grenade. From jasonparker@gmail.com. Subject: wedding invitation. Please read. I stared at it for a full minute before clicking. The message was short but dropped like a bomb. Dan, I know it's been 6 years since everything went down. I'm getting married next month to an amazing woman named Rebecca. I'd be honored if you would be my best man. I understand if you refuse, but I hope this can be a first step toward healing our family. Please call me if you're willing to talk. Jason. No apology. No acknowledgement of the nuclear fallout he'd caused. Just a casual invitation, as if he'd borrowed my lawnmower without asking rather than screwing my wife and destroying my marriage. The ball's on this guy, I muttered, closing my laptop harder than necessary. That evening, I called my parents for our weekly check-in. After catching up on their Florida retirement adventures, Mom hesitated, then said, "Daniel, has Jason contacted you?" My grip tightened on the phone. "You knew about this?" "His parent called us yesterday," she admitted. "They're hoping this wedding might bring everyone back together." Back together? Are you kidding me? I paced my living room, blood pressure rising. Does everyone think I'm the bad guy for not playing happy families with the man who blew up my life? Of course not, honey, Mom soothed. But it's been 6 years. Holding on to anger. This isn't about anger. I cut her off. It's about respect. Self-respect. After hanging up, I poured myself a double whiskey and stepped onto my balcony. Denver's skyline glittered below, oblivious to my turmoil. Had everyone been in touch with Jason except me? Had they been having cozy family gatherings while I was building my life from scratch? My phone buzzed with a text from my father. "We've always been in your corner, son. Still are. Your mother worries, that's all." At least he got it. I fired back. "Thanks, Dad." The next morning, my receptionist buzzed. "There's a Thomas and Linda Parker here to see you." No appointment, but they're insistent. My stomach dropped. Uncle Thomas and Aunt Linda? Here? I hadn't seen them since before the divorce. "Send them in," I said, straightening my tie. No sense hiding behind my assistant. They entered looking older, grayer, but with the same faces that had once represented family to me. Now they were just reminders of betrayal. "Daniel," Aunt Linda said, tears already forming. "You look so well." Uncle Thomas extended his hand. After a moment's hesitation, I shook it. Professional courtesy, nothing more. "We need to talk about Jason's wedding," he began. I settled back in my chair, expression neutral. "No, actually we don't." 6 years of silence, and now you show up unannounced at my office. I kept my voice level, gesturing for them to sit. "I'm curious what made you think this was a good idea." Aunt Linda dabbed at her eyes. "We've missed you, Daniel. The family hasn't been the same." "Let's cut to the chase," Uncle Thomas interrupted, always the businessman. "Jason is getting married. He wants to make things right." I leaned back in my chair. Make things right? That ship sailed 6 years ago. It sank with no survivors. "People make mistakes," Aunt Linda pleaded. "Terrible ones, yes. But Jason has changed. He's grown up." I barked out a laugh. "Sleeping with your cousin's wife isn't a mistake. It's a choice made day after day. And now he wants me as his best man? That's not asking for forgiveness. That's asking me to pretend it never happened." Uncle Thomas shifted uncomfortably. After the miscarriage, Jason hit rock bottom. Moved back home, went to therapy, finally got his act together. Started a legitimate business. Met Rebecca 3 years ago. She's really straightened him out. "Good for him," I said flatly. "I'm glad he's not a complete train wreck. But that doesn't mean I need to be part of his life." "Your parents missed the way things were." Aunt Linda tried again. "We all used to be so close." That hit a nerve. "Hold up. You're telling me my parents have been in regular contact with you? After everything that happened?" They exchanged glances. "Not at first," Uncle Thomas admitted. "But the last few years, yes. For holidays, sometimes. They didn't want to upset you." The betrayal cut deep. My own parents had been lying to me, pretending they'd cut ties when they were playing happy family behind my back. "Get out," I said quietly. "Daniel, please." "Now." My tone left no room for argument. After they left, I canceled my afternoon meetings and drove to Clear Creek Canyon. The climbing would clear my head, help me think straight. 2 hours later, arms burning and mind quieter, I sat on a ledge overlooking the valley and called my parents. "Why did you lie to me?" I asked without preamble. Mom started to deny it, but Dad cut in. "We didn't want to hurt you, son." At first, we did cut contact. But time passed, and Thomas reached out when his mother, your grandmother, was dying. "So you've been what? Having Thanksgiving dinner together while telling me you were visiting friends." "We didn't lie about that," Mom insisted. "We just didn't volunteer information. A lie of omission is still a lie." I countered. "You know how I felt about their betrayal." "Their betrayal?" Dad asked gently. "Or just Jason's?" I had no answer for that. He was right. I'd lumped the entire family together. "We're coming to Denver this weekend," Mom said firmly. "We need to talk about this in person." After hanging up, I sat watching the sun set over the mountains. My carefully constructed new life suddenly felt built on quicksand. My parents arrived Saturday morning. I picked them up at the airport. The drive back to my condo, filled with uncomfortable small talk about their flight and the weather. Classic Mitchell family move. Avoid the elephant in the room until you absolutely can't. Once inside, Mom immediately went to the kitchen to make coffee, her go-to stress response. Dad settled on my couch, taking in the view of the mountains. "Nice place," he commented. "You've done well for yourself." "Cut the small talk, Dad," I said, sitting across from him. "Why have you been lying to me for years?" Mom returned with 3 mugs. Her hands were shaking slightly. "We never meant to hurt you, Daniel. It started with your grandmother's funeral. We couldn't just what? Be honest with your son." I took the coffee but didn't drink it. "Do you have any idea how this feels? Finding out my parents have been playing both sides while I've been rebuilding my life from scratch." Dad leaned forward. "We weren't playing both sides. We were trying to keep what was left to the family together. And where did I fit into that equation?" "You made it crystal clear you wanted nothing to do with them," Mom said. "We respected that. But they're still family to us. Thomas is your father's brother. So blood trumps loyalty? Good to know." The bitterness in my voice surprised even me. Dad's expression hardened. "That's enough, Daniel. I understand you're hurt, but we're not the villains here. We've supported you through everything. Except when you were having Christmas dinner with the people who blew up my marriage." I shot back. "Jason blew up your marriage," Dad countered. "Not his parents. And if we're being brutally honest, Melissa played her part too." The truth of his words stung. I stood up and walked to the window, trying to collect my thoughts. "Life isn't black and white, son," Dad continued more gently. "Thomas and Linda were victims in this too. They lost their relationship with you, someone they love. Jason's actions hit everyone like a ton of bricks. I turned back to face them. And now you want me to just sweep it all under the rug? Play happy families at his wedding." "We don't expect you to be his best man," Mom clarified. "That was Jason's pipe dream. But attending the wedding? Maybe. It would mean a lot to your grandparents, who aren't getting any younger." The guilt card. "Well played, Mom. Have you been in touch with Melissa too?" I asked suddenly. They exchanged glances. Mom answered no. That was a line we wouldn't cross. "Small mercies," I muttered. Dad stood up, his patience clearly wearing thin. "Look, you're a grown man. If you want to hold on to this grudge until you're old and gray, that's your call. But don't expect the world to stop spinning because Daniel Mitchell got hurt." His words hit me like a sucker punch. Dad had always been my biggest supporter. Hearing him talk like this was jarring. "The wedding's in 4 weeks," Mom said, placing an actual paper invitation on my coffee table. "Just think about it. That's all we're asking." I didn't commit to anything before driving them back to their hotel. As I watched them walk inside, I realized I had a decision to make that would affect our family for years to come. 2 weeks after my parents' visit, I still hadn't touched the wedding invitation gathering dust on my coffee table. Every time I looked at it, conflicting emotions churned inside me. Anger, resentment, exhaustion, and beneath it all, a tiny sliver of curiosity. Who had Jason become? Was he still the selfish kid who destroyed my marriage? Or had he genuinely changed? I threw myself into a massive construction project at work, staying late every night. My assistant, Carla, finally called me out. "You're running yourself into the ground, boss. Whatever you're avoiding, this isn't the answer." She was right. I was hiding behind my work like I'd done after the divorce. That night, I broke my own rule and Googled Jason. His carpentry business popped up immediately. Parker Custom Furniture. The website showed impressive handcrafted pieces with testimonials from high-end clients. Seemed he'd found his calling after all, and it wasn't strumming a guitar. On an impulse, I clicked the About page. There he was, older, with a beard now, standing next to a pretty blonde woman I assumed was Rebecca. They look happy. Normal. The rage I expected to feel didn't come. Just a hollow emptiness. I called Monica, one of the few people who knew the whole ugly story. We met at our usual climbing gym, and between routes, I laid out the situation. "So what's stopping you from going?" she asked, chalking her hands. "Pride." "It's not pride," I insisted. "It's self-respect." She gave me that look, the one that said she wasn't buying my BS. "Dan, you've spent 6 years becoming someone new. Someone stronger. Are you really afraid that going to this wedding will undo all that?" "I'm not afraid," I snapped. Could have fooled me. She clipped into the rope. "Seems to me a man who's truly moved on wouldn't be this twisted up about a wedding invitation." Her words stuck with me all week. Was I still letting Jason and Melissa control my life by refusing to move forward? On Friday, I called my parents. "I'll go to the wedding," I said without preamble, "but not as his best man. Just a guest. And I'm not making any promises about playing happy family afterwards." Mom's relief was palpable. "That's wonderful, honey. Your father and I are so proud of you for taking this step. Don't make it a bigger deal than it is," I warned. "I'm doing this for Grandma and Grandpa. And for you too, so you can stop living double lives." After hanging up, I finally opened the invitation. The wedding was at a mountain resort about 2 hours from Denver. I need a hotel room, a suit, and a hell of a lot of emotional armor. I texted Monica, "You were right. I'm going." Her reply came instantly. "Knew you would. Want me to be your +1? Moral support and all that." I stared at the offer. Having a friend there might make this whole circus bearable. "What about Ryan?" I asked, referring to her husband. "He's on shift that weekend. Besides, he thinks you're hot." I laughed for what felt like the first time in weeks. "Then it's a date." With that decided, I felt something unexpected, a weight lifting. I wasn't forgiving Jason, but maybe I was finally freeing myself. The mountain resort looked like something off a postcard. Rustic luxury nestled among towering pines with the Rockies as a backdrop. As Monica and I pulled up to the valet stand, my stomach clenched. "You doing okay?" she asked, squeezing my arm. She looked stunning in a deep blue dress, her usual climbing attire replaced with elegant simplicity. "I'll live," I muttered, handing the keys to the attendant. The rehearsal dinner was tonight, the wedding tomorrow. I'd agreed to attend both, against my better judgment. My parents had texted that they were already inside, along with Uncle Thomas and Aunt Linda. In the lobby, I spotted them immediately. They were chatting with an older couple I recognized as Rebecca's parents from Facebook stalking. Mom saw me first, her face lighting up as she hurried over. "Daniel." She embraced me, then Monica. "And you must be Monica. We've heard so much about you." Dad shook my hand firmly. "Proud of you, son." I nodded, my throat tight. The moment I'd been dreading arrived as Uncle Thomas and Aunt Linda approached cautiously. 6 years of silence stretched between us like a chasm. "Daniel," Uncle Thomas said, extending his hand. I took it after a brief hesitation. "Thank you for coming. It means the world to us." Aunt Linda was crying openly, which made me uncomfortable. I introduced Monica to break the tension. As we moved toward the reception area, I scanned the room for Jason. There he was, across the space, talking with a slender blonde woman. He hadn't noticed me yet. For a heartbeat, I considered leaving, just turning around and driving back to Denver. Monica must have sensed my hesitation because her grip on my arm tightened. "One foot in front of the other, Mitchell," she whispered. "You've got this." Jason turned then, his eyes meeting mine. Recognition, surprise, and something like hope crossed his face. He said something to Rebecca, then started making his way toward me. 6 years of anger, hurt, and separation condensed into the 30 seconds it took him to cross that room. My hands were steady, my breathing controlled, but my heart hammered against my ribs like it wanted to escape. "Dan," he said simply when he reached us. "You came." The moment of truth had arrived. The rehearsal dinner dissolved in a background noise as Jason stood before me. He looked different, broader in the shoulders. The boyish features hardened into a man's face. The cocky musician was gone. "Thanks for coming," he said, voice rough with emotion. "I honestly didn't think you would." That makes two of us, I replied evenly. Monica extended her hand. I'm Monica, Dan's friend. Jason shook it, his eyes not leaving my face. Jason Parker. I'm the screw-up in the family. An awkward silence descended until Rebecca appeared at Jason's side. She was pretty in a wholesome way, with intelligent eyes that assessed me quickly. You must be Daniel, she said warmly. I've heard so much about you. Not all bad, I hope, I replied automatically. Actually, mostly bad, she said with surprising candor. Jason hasn't spared himself in telling me about your history. Jason looked uncomfortable. Beck, maybe we should. No, she's right, I cut in. Let's not pretend this is a normal family reunion. Monica squeezed my arm in warning, but I was beyond caring about social niceties. 6 years of bottled anger had found its release valve. Can we talk? Jason asked quietly. Privately, against my better judgment, I nodded. We stepped out onto the resort's terrace, the mountain air sharp with pine. For a long moment, we just stood there, two estranged men with the weight of betrayal between us. I rehearsed this speech for years, Jason finally said, staring out at the darkening mountains. Nothing sounds right. I'm sorry doesn't cut it. I was young and stupid sounds like an excuse. Then skip the speech, I suggested coldly. I didn't come for apologies. He turned to face me. Why did you come? The question caught me off guard. For Mom and Dad. For Grandma and Grandpa. Not for yourself. Or for me. I laughed bitterly. For you? You gotta be kidding. Fair enough. He leaned against the railing. I don't deserve forgiveness, Dan. I know that. What I did, his voice cracked. It was unforgivable. Not just sleeping with Melissa, but betraying you, my cousin, my friend. His raw honesty disarmed me. I'd expected excuses, minimization, not this naked accountability. After the miscarriage, it all fell apart, he continued. Melissa and I, we were never about love. Just selfishness and lust. She left me, and I spiraled. Moved back home, drank too much, hated myself. Am I supposed to feel sorry for you? I asked, though the heat had left my voice. God, no. I deserved worse, he said simply. Dad finally kicked my ass into gear. Made me get therapy, learn a trade. I rebuilt my life from scratch, just like you had to. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small wooden box. I made this for you. It's not a peace offering, because peace might be asking too much. Just acknowledgement. Inside was a perfectly crafted wooden compass, my initials inlaid in contrasting wood. Either way, after tomorrow, I won't bother you again, Jason said quietly. But know that not a day goes by that I don't regret what I did. He walked back inside, leaving me holding the compass and feeling strangely hollow. The morning of Jason's wedding dawned clear and brilliant, mountain light streaming through my hotel room window. Monica was already up, nursing a cup of coffee on the balcony. Sleep well? She asked as I joined her. Better than expected, I admitted. The conversation with Jason had left me strangely calm, like lancing an old wound. The ceremony was set for noon in the resort's outdoor pavilion. As Monica and I took our seats among the small gathering of guests, I spotted Melissa's parents across the aisle. They nodded politely but kept their distance. Some bridges stay burned. My parents sat beside me, Mom squeezing my hand as Jason took his position at the altar. The raw emotion on his face as Rebecca walked down the aisle caught me off guard. There was genuine love there, not the selfish infatuation he'd had with Melissa. During the reception, I kept to myself, making small talk when necessary, but mostly observing. Jason and Rebecca moved among their guests, clearly happy. Uncle Thomas approached me at the bar, bourbon in hand. I owe you an apology, too, he said gruffly, for how I handled everything back then. I should have been harder on Jason, made him face consequences sooner. I nodded, accepting his words without comment. As the celebration wound down, I found myself alone on the terrace where Jason and I had talked the night before. The wooden compass felt heavy in my pocket. Penny for your thoughts, Monica said, joining me with 2 champagne flutes. Just thinking about how life comes full circle, I replied, taking the offered drink. 6 years ago, I thought I'd lost everything. Now I'm watching the guy who took it all start a new life, and somehow, I'm okay. That's because you rebuilt something better, she said simply. You're not the same man who got betrayed. You're stronger, wiser. Jason appeared in the doorway, hesitating when he saw us. After a moment, he approached. "Rebecca and I are heading out," he said. "I just wanted to thank you again for coming, Dan. It means more than you know." I nodded, then surprised myself by extending my hand. "I wish you both the best." The relief on his face was palpable as he shook my hand firmly. "You too. And if you ever decide you wanna, I don't know, grab a beer sometime, I'm around." After he left, Monica raised an eyebrow. "Does this mean you've forgiven him?" I considered the question carefully. Not entirely, but I'm done letting what he did define me. On the drive home the next day, I called my parents. "Thanks for pushing me to go," I told them. "You were right. I needed that closure. Does this mean we can all have Christmas together this year?" Mom asked hopefully. "Baby steps, Mom," I laughed. "But maybe Thanksgiving. We'll see." As Denver appeared on the horizon, I realized I was returning different than I'd left. The burden of anger I'd carried for 6 years had lightened. Not gone completely. Some wounds leave permanent scars, but no longer controlling my life. The wooden compass sits on my desk now, not as a reminder of betrayal, but of the path I've taken to find my way back to myself.